My title is, as Mike said, everything you ever want to know about project management professional certification. I call it that because there's so many things that you need to know, you, the general audience. And the other thing is, there's so many half-truths and misrepresentations out there. I like to clear that up. I've been teaching this PMP for about 11 years now, and I'm so immersed in both teaching it and writing about it and thinking about it. I was just doing some slides for a customer just before I got on the call. They said, I like to be I'm not the final word. PMI is the Project Management Institute, but I keep in touch with them and I try to let people know what this really is, what is really involved in this, what is really not. So that's what this is all about. As I mentioned, I've been teaching since 2002. I talked about the misinformation. Let's not only get to a place where we have a common understanding. Let's just get rid of that misinformation that's out there and clear that up. A lot of people hear what they hear on the internet. I go right to PMI and clear those questions up. So, you already heard my background. 20 years in project management, 10 years in business as J.P. Stewart Associates. Mike said all this, so I won't belabor it. A lot of consulting, a lot of teaching, a certain amount of mentoring. I do all those things. End of commercial. So, as a general overview, and we'll answer more questions that are just in here, but this is just a taste of the type of things we'll answer. What are the benefits of having certified project managers for your organization if you're in charge of project managers? What's the benefit of you being certified? How difficult was the exam? Now, if you know anything, if anybody's told you that the exam is one of the most difficult you ever take, they're right. That I can't deny. I can't refute. It's a very challenging exam, and I'm going to give you an example of a sample question at the end. Do you have to join PMI? The short answer is no, but I'll tell you why you might want to. Can you self-study or do you need an instructor? There's various ways you can self-study. You can have an instructor. You can do virtual with an instructor. There's a variety of methods within that are very interesting. I've done most of them. Is an in-person class, and the thing I will say about that is it depends on you. It depends on your study mode. Is an in-person class better than a virtual class? Aha. I taught virtual classes for almost the whole time. Again, the answer is it depends, because it really comes down to your personal style. Some people can't stand the thought of being on the phone for 4 or 6 hours at a time because they can't concentrate that way. And some others need to go to a class, so we'll talk about that. Once you get certification, how do you keep it? Do you retake the exam? The short answer is no. You never take the exam again. We'll talk about how you get it. Michael alluded to it with the idea of PDUs. How much does it cost? There's a lot of out-of-pocket. And a lot of you may know that we're based on the Project Management Body of Knowledge. That's what PMBOK stands for. Project Management Body of Knowledge. That is the book that the Project Management Institute puts out about every 4 years. We're on the 4th edition. I should say this. We're on the 5th edition. The 5th edition was released in late December. But the test currently is based on the 4th edition. I'll talk about that a little bit, and that may be confusing, but I'll clarify that in a minute. So, why get it? Why get the PMP at all? It's clear for somebody like me, as a consultant and a writer and a blogger and all this stuff. You say, yeah, Jim, sure, it's good for you. But what do I get out of it as a project manager who is just pursuing his or her vocation? Okay, for one thing, you're speaking a language consistent with other PMPs. That's no small feat. When I teach, there's 100 words for a charter. There's 100 words for the work breakdown structure. So it's really ideal in an organization to have a consistent language across project managers who talk that way. Also, I firmly believe this. If you apply what you learn, rather than just learning it to pass the exam, it will make you a better project manager. My philosophy when I teach is a bit of tough love. When my students come in, they say, what are the quick ways to pass this exam? I say, first of all, there aren't any. I would give them to you if there are quick ways, so you should know that. Secondly, isn't it better to thoroughly and deeply immerse yourself in it so that for the period of time during which you study, you really learn it, you pass the PMP well, and you can take those theories back to your environment. That leads to the third one, raising the bar on project maturity. Now, we don't have time, and it's not within the scope of this class or this session, but there are 5 levels of project maturity, from completely ad hoc to completely managed. Isn't it a good thing, your organization, to raise the bar of maturity so that all project managers are trained at the same level? It may make you more competitive. I have one company that shall remain nameless that's a telecommunications company. They have sent dozens, if not hundreds of students to me, because for them to compete against other telecommunications companies, they must have the PMP certification or they can't get the business. I've seen this frequently, and I've seen PMP become quite a bit more important for that reason in the government. And PMI's own study, the Project Management Institute, said there was something like a $10,000 difference in salary for PMPs. That may be astonishing to you, but out in the open market, try finding a job that doesn't have PMP as part of its requirements if you're looking at Monster or Dice or Indeed. Not to say you're guaranteed $10,000 more, but then roughly across the board, it was even more than if you had a university degree, and I've taught at universities. Just very quickly, if you have a university degree, according to PMI, in project management, about $2,000 more United States dollars, $10,000 more with a PMP, or more for a PMP. That's the market setting that, not me, not PMI. So that's an important thing to know. Now, some statistics for you. Look at the numbers. This is rough, but pretty good. PMI publishes these numbers. There are 500,000 plus PMPs in the world. I tell you that for a couple of reasons. A lot of my students come to me and say, I can't be one of those. I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I don't know enough about project management. I say, stop negative thinking. If there are 500,000 PMPs in the world, I guarantee you that most of them aren't members of Mensa, nor am I. They're not geniuses necessarily. They just studied hard and got there because they wanted and needed it. And you can see the other 5 certification. There's a certified associate, which I'll talk about if you don't have the requirements for the PMP. And then it gets very sparse from there on in. Program management professionals, risk management professionals, scheduling, and agile. Among us, I would say, look, PMP is by far the most desirable. CAPM is pretty good if you want to have people talking to each other in an organization. The other 4, in my opinion, haven't really, not in my opinion, you can see the numbers, haven't really taken off. But if I were betting, I'd put my money a little bit on Agile because that's an up-and-comer for project management and for PMI. What is the source material for the exam? PMI, the Project Management Institute, uses a variety of sources. Now, that might surprise some people. The main one is the PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge. It's about a 400 and some page document, and it is the Bible. It is a book that you must read and master if you're going to become a PMP. A lot of people say, do I really have to read it? I say, yes, you have to read it. There's no shortcuts, and the book is full of nuance. This is a standard by which PMI believes a project should be managed. While it's a necessary book to study, as I mentioned here, it's kind of dry. It's not written for you to study, by the way. It's written as a reference book for people to use for reference on their project. There's a wall between the people that write the PMBOK and the people that write the exam. People that write the PMBOK aren't worried about the people that write the exam. That's their problem. So they have to pull what they can out of it. So it's a bit dry. I admit that, but it's readable. But vendors, some of whom I'll mention, write books to make the PMBOK easier to understand. So they kind of translate it, if you will. Now, I mention here that the current exam that is up, put out by PMI, is based on the 4th edition through July 30th. Okay? That's very, very important to know. If you were studying right now, studying from the 4th edition, or you started studying tomorrow, and you wanted to take the 4th edition exam, you have through the end of the day, July 30th. If you take the exam on July 31st, there are not 2 exams. The 4th edition exam comes down, the 5th exam comes up. The 5th edition exam comes up. So while there are great similarities,